What's going on, guys? My name is Brandon. Welcome to Audio Addiction, where you can find the latest album reviews, you can find our band interviews, and you can find live coverage of the concerts that we get. I will be posting the entire No Sun, No Moon tour. I just posted 1000 Below a few days ago. I'll be posting Silent Planets today, and the rest will follow. Also, I have the Tides of Man tour that I've been sitting on for a bit. That one's going to be going out really soon as well. And I'm going to see the I Prevail tour tomorrow night. So I'm excited for that too. I hope to get maybe a few interviews, who knows, but definitely some live video, hopefully. So, as well as interviews from Like Pacific and Can't Swim to come out this week as well. So if you enjoyed any of that, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to hit the thumbs up so you don't miss out on anything going on with Audio Addiction. So tonight, we're going to be talking about Movement's new record, Feel Something. So I'm fairly new to this band. I have heard about them. I've known about them for a little bit. More specifically, I heard about them through I the Mighty, which is one of the albums I did a review of along with The Veil of Maya, but I'm getting off track here. And so, I and a lot of my friends in my musical sort of group say that, they swear by Movement, so I wanted to give them a listen. I listened to Colorblind, as well as Deadly Dull, which came out pretty recently, and I really enjoyed it. I wanted to really get into this band and kind of, listen to what they had going on with this album, and just, the different sort of array of sounds that they were able to go through with this, because there was a lot of different things going on with both of those singles. So I was curious to see how they would continue that and just change up their sound. So I'm going to go through each track, giving my thoughts and opinions on it. I'm going to go through some pros and cons on the record, list off some of my favorites, and then end it off with an overall rating. So the first track on the record is Full Circle. Really enjoying the sort of intro guitar in this intro. Obviously it has this cool gritty guitar effect to it, which I thought was awesome, as well as I appreciate hearing each individual instrument just in its own defining characteristics, in the way that it sounds, like the way that the bass sounds, the way that the drum sounds, the guitar sounds. They all feel together, but at the same time you can pick out the guitars, you can pick out the bass, you can pick out the drums, and I really do appreciate that sort of naturalness of it. It just works very well with the sort of sounds that they're going for, in that sort of ambient, almost melodic territory, or definitely in the melodic territory, which is really cool. This track has a really great melodic swing to it as well. Is really ear-catching, and I appreciate this track a lot. The vocals are really great in this as well. They have a bit of a grit to them, especially in the chorus, which is cool. I know that he does some screaming as well, and you'll hear that in future tracks, but I felt like this one was a little bit more, I wouldn't say reserved, but it was definitely taking on a different sort of vocal just styling. So I do appreciate that. And this one is very melody driven. Like I've been mentioning, a lot of these tracks have that great melodic feel to them, and I really do appreciate that. There's this cool spoken word bit at the 2 minutes and 34-second mark to the 3 minutes and 10-second mark, and I definitely feel like it's a good opener for me, not really hearing a lot about this band and just listening to this record at face value. I really enjoyed it so far, and it definitely made me continue on and to, go on to the next tracks, which the second track off this record is Third Degree. This one I feel like has a lot more energy and had a lot more sort of punch to it than Full Circle did. And that's not to discount Full Circle. I felt like it was a great track to open off with. But this one just, turned up the energy just a little bit. I'm really loving the vibes in the chorus and just what they give off with that. And I definitely feel like, to me, it is a highlight of the track in particular. The leads in the chorus just add this really cool depth to the track as well, and it makes it, tonally very interesting, which is cool. The vocals feel like the focal point as well in this track. it just, the way that he's able to just manipulate his cleans, and just the way that he speaks tonality wise, just vocally singing and spoken word parts, they just fit very well with their writing style and the way that they're able to, construct music in a really interesting way, and in a way that I haven't heard from bands in a little bit of time. So that was cool. I like that they cut through the mix very well, just through the track, just instrumentally. I feel like the vocals just have this sort of standout personality to it, and the melodies definitely bring out a lot of those awesome qualities to this track. So we're going to move into track number 3, which is Colorblind. This is the first single, I believe. I think I'm right. Yes, it is the first single off this record. I love the chorus in this track. I feel like it definitely picks up after this first chorus. And I like when the vocalist kind of does that sort of scream yell. It has this um, great emotional weight to it, which, again, a lot of bands that I haven't heard from in a while that kind of do that sort of borderline melodic emo sort of stuff. I definitely appreciate that. I don't even know what type of genre to consider them. I would consider them to be kind of emo-ish. They have sort of a sadder vibe to their music, and I also appreciate the sort of bits of harmonization that you can hear throughout the chorus. It really adds this great depth to the track as well, and it makes it interesting. When you're listening to kind of a singular voice, it sounds good, but I feel like it's magnified even better when it has some really great harmonization and just layering to it. The bridge has this really cool expansiveness to it, and the screams definitely change up the song in a unique way. And it's definitely one of the better. I mean, the two singles were really great in my opinion. I didn't feel like either one of them were particularly bad, and I feel like they set up sort of how the album sounds in a more, I wouldn't even say a generic way, but just in a overall arcing theme. It kind of sounds very similar to just a lot of the songs off this record. So we're gonna move into track number 4, which is Daylily. Really loving the instrumentals of this track. I feel like they're able to conduct a way where it has really great melodic feel to it, but it also has a really good punch to it as well. And to me, I feel like they ride that line of both of those, which is really cool. This one also has an awesome swing to it, and just the melodicness of the track, just in general, just works very well with what they're doing. The vocals feel really diverse. They have some more mellower parts in the verses, and I feel like it picks up and has more of a larger range in the chorus, and it just fits well with the sort of more forefronted chorus, which I appreciate a lot in this track. The vocal melodies definitely stuck out a lot to me, and is definitely the focal point of this track in particular. So we're going to move into track number 5, which is Deadly Dull. This was the other single besides Colorblind that was released, and this was released pretty recently as well. There are just something special about this track that every time I go back to listen to this record, and I've listened to maybe about 5 and 10 times, just because I know it's coming out. It's coming out this Friday. There's just really something that connected me with this track. It just has this emotional connection as soon as you listen to it. Just maybe it might be the storytelling in the lyrics. It just has this really beautiful quality about it, and I feel like this one is just a standout track to me. The instrumentals also are some of my favorites off of Feel Something as well, and the vocal patterns are just really nice, and there's just some really great cleans from the vocalist of this band. I know initially, I was kind of skeptical about this band, but I really have grown to love this band and this track more specifically. There's this really awesome, cool spoken word part at the 2 minute mark to the 2 minutes and 25-second mark, and they're just really able to create really awesome musical landscapes. And this one is no shortage of greatness. I really, really enjoyed this one. I would say that is one of my favorites off the record, which, obviously I was going to say that for later, but this one just feels so well, and it just hits me in just such a way that, a lot of bands have, I wouldn't say struggled at, but this one just has that great quality about it that just every time I go back to listen to it just hits me emotionally, and I really appreciate that just about bands in general, that they're able to, convey that sort of feeling and emotion to it. So we're going to move into track number 6, which is Fever Dream. I would consider this a pseudo acoustic track. It has a lot more of softer qualities to it. There's really no drumming or bass. It's primarily just guitar, whether it be acoustic and sort of, like ethereal, very kind of like spacey sort of clean guitar parts. It feels very stripped back, and I appreciate the qualities about that song. In particular, it just has this naturalness to it, and I feel like the placement in the album just fits very well too. It kind of marks the halfway point in this album, and I feel like it really sets up for the latter half of the record too, which is kind of separating itself, I guess, sonically, from the middle portion to the first half to the second half. So I really appreciate it in that regard. Nothing too crazy going on either lyrically or vocally or any of that sort of thing. I feel like it's a very straightforward and just solid track all around. So we're gonna move into track number 7, which is Suffer Through. I really feel like the focal point of this track is the chorus. Is really something that struck me hard while listening through to it. I also feel like the verses have this cool sort of ambient drive to it, and it is a cool contrast to the more driven, sort of more, I guess, heavier choruses, which I appreciate as well. I like that, there are some parts where there's some more melodicness to it, and then there's some parts where it's a little bit heavier, a little bit more tonally gritty, which I appreciate. And I felt like in this track, which for me kind of just didn't make me feel like this one was a solid one, was just the bridge and just sort of the end of the track. It felt like it really dragged on for a bit. They could have cut it off. I feel like not significantly, but I feel like they could have cut it a little bit to the point where it wasn't so. I just feel like it was just so long for some reason. Every time when I was going back to listen to this one, it just felt like it was much longer than the track actually was, and it didn't feel like it worked very well. So to me, I feel like this, I wouldn't say it's the weakest track, but it just didn't grab me as much as the other ones. So we're going to move it into track number 8, which is Deep Red. Something that will immediately stick out to you guys will be that sort of bass and drum line that kind of carry throughout the track and really kind of offer this sort of backbone to this song, which is really cool. It has this really great punch and structure and just rhythm to it that I really appreciate. Just as somebody who listens to a lot of music, it really differentiates itself from, Feel Something, and I feel like it works very well with this song in general. The chorus is really great as well, and I also like that the guitar, I wouldn't say almost takes a backseat, but definitely is more of an accent piece to the drums and the bass, which is just interesting in that regard as well, because a lot of tracks are more guitar focused, so I do appreciate the change in diversity in that. It was just an interesting choice to have a bit of a slower bridge, more ambient, more spacious, and I feel like it fluctuates between heavy and melodic in the bridge as well, which offers just an interesting contrast, and it works very well in this one. And as well as it being a longer track, I think it's like around the 5-ish minute mark, and it just flows very well, and I didn't feel like I was listening to a long track, much to my dismay, and suffer through. I feel like this one was executed a lot better. So we're going to move into track number 9, which is Under the Gun. This one has a bit of a more aggressive tonality to it. It has more screaming in it as well. I would consider this to be the heavier track. While I wouldn't say their songs are heavy, this one just feels a little bit heavier, much in the way of like La Dispute and the way that they do stuff. It has that sort of melodic sort of alternative feel to it, and just the instrumentals, and then vocally it feels a lot just more aggressive and more has just a little bit more tone to it. And I would attribute to this song. The vocals are really unique in some parts. It cleans up more specifically in the chorus, and then there's other parts where it has more of a yell, gritty, even borderline screaming sort of sound, which vocally I really appreciate. I feel like it breaks up the monotony of just having a singular clean or some yells or whatever. It just works well in this one, and I'm really liking the instrumentals in this track as well. I wouldn't say that they are particularly standout instrumentally, but I do like that it just plays well with the vocals, and just where the sort of heavier parts vocally are, the guitars kind of match that as well. So we're gonna move into track number 10, which is Submerge. This one has this interesting intro to it. It kind of bleeds into the first verse of the track. It has this sort of hum and dissonance to it. It kind of a follow up, or yeah, kind of a follow up to Under the Gun. There is this sort of like dissonance to it towards the end of the track, and then it kind of falls into track number 10. And I'm really liking the vocal patterns and the melodies in this track. The vocals have this sort of softer tenderness to it in the verses and become more fuller in the choruses. They have this sort of great way of conducting that in a track as well. And it also has this cool, reverby, spacious sound to it, which is always cool. I love the sort of ambient qualities that they're able to put into a lot of their tracks off this record, and it's just something to point out as well. So we're going to move into the last track of the record, which is track number 11, The Gray. There is a really cool call and response part at the 30-second mark to the 40-second mark, and it just, for me, is cool just in that regard because it spices up the track. To me, just after multiple listens, it's really cool to have that sort of vocal pattern interchanging in that part. The chorus has just this great force to it, and fullness that just really hit me while I was listening to it, and I really appreciate about that band, that just they're able to have this fullness and just sort of power behind their music, even it being not heavy, but it just has this force behind it, which I appreciate considering that I listen to a lot more metalcore and like post-hardcore stuff. This one just has this sort of force to it. It's really hard to explain, but I appreciate that. Vocally, it's really diverse, and I feel like it culminates a lot of the tracks off the record. It has screams in it, cleans, some gritty vocals, as well as spoken word as well. And I definitely feel like it combines a lot of the elements of Feel Something. I feel like it takes a lot of the best elements of a lot of the tracks off this album and kind of combines it into one song. So if there was one song that I'd recommend to listen to if you had not listened to Movements at all, like myself, I would recommend this one. The instrumentals have this ethereal ambient quality to it, like I've been mentioning a lot, but it's really something to point out, and it's something that makes them unique, and I definitely appreciate it. There's this awesome spoken word part at the 3 minutes and 10-second mark to the 3 minutes and 36-second mark, which is nice and just adds a little breath and a little change up into the track. And I feel like it's a good way to round off the record, for not listening to this band as much as I have in the past, probably like 72 hours. They really did reel me in and really kind of pulled me into a band that I hadn't listened to, but I'm excited to go see on that Knuckle Puck tour, but as well as just experience something. And I feel like they really did do a good job of just making people experience and feel music, no pun intended to what their album was called, but it really did have that sort of quality to it. Some pros and cons. Vocally, it's really unique, and musically, it's really unique as well. Love the vocals a lot. The instrumentation's really great, and the lyrics, I feel like in a lot of the songs, are really kind of important too. I remember reading lyrics for Deadly Dull, and it really struck with me, and I also feel like that's why it hit me very hard, just listening to it as well. Lyrically, I'd love to go back and listen to the record and read the lyrics. I feel like they just have this sort of emotional quality to it that has been kind of out of my life for a little bit, so it's cool to have that sort of moment with this band. At some parts, I feel like a con it can get kind of bland. There's some lulls in tracks that I felt like just comes with the territory of being more ambient and more spacious with the type of music they're able to create. So I can't take that too hard. It might be I would take it as a grain of salt, but to me, just as a new listener, it was something that was initially hard to get into. So some of my favorites off the record: Third Degree, Daylily, Deadly Dull, Deep Red, Under the Gun, Submerge, The Gray. Those were all awesome tracks, and those were some that I really enjoyed. So to round out my overall rating for Movement, Feel Something, I'm going to be giving it a 9.3 out of 10. I feel like you guys should check it out. It's one of those bands that just have this uniqueness, and for me, that kind of resonates with me a lot, just because they are so different, and they won't get misconstrued as another band for me, which is awesome. I'm excited to see what they do next with their next record. Obviously, they released this one, so you should go check this one out. I will also go check out their previous work as well with their EP. And just for me, just as a new listener, it was really refreshing to hear something different and just hear a band take on something that separates them from a lot of other bands. So definitely go check out Movements. They are currently on tour with Knuckle Puck and like With Confidence, and there's definitely another band that I'm forgetting, but it's an awesome tour, so you should definitely go check that one out. Super excited for that. Knuckle Puck also put out a phenomenal record too, so definitely go check out this band. Let me know in the comments if you feel the same way about this band and this album too. I would love to hear comments about it, whether it be comments that you like it, comments that you don't like it. I would seriously love to have a really great conversation about it, and I feel like I've had some really great responses on previous album reviews, so I'd love to continue that sort of response as well. So if you enjoyed this review, make sure to subscribe, make sure to hit that thumbs up. It really does go a long way. Thank you guys for your support. It really does mean a lot. And just people who say good things, people who say bad things, it really helps me grow as an album reviewer and just a YouTuber in general. So thank you guys for that. And if you do support me and what I do, make sure to check the link in the description. There's a merch store where you can pick out some cool merch and support what I do. So my name is Brandon. We hope you got your fix, and we'll be talking with you soon. Peace. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Of course, if you enjoy what we do, make sure to go check out the other series we do. We do album reviews, we do band interviews, and we do live videos, so definitely go check that out. Hit that subscribe button. It really helps our channel, helps us grow. Make sure to hit that like button as well. Go follow us on social media. That's all down below. We try to keep that as updated as possible. We also made a new website where we'll be posting photos of upcoming concerts and stuff like that, which you can go check out at audioaddictionmedia.com, and come get your fix with us, guys. Talk to you later. Deuces.